Time now for a look at the latest business news, and we start with that news of a potential mega merger in the business industry. To tell us more about that, we're joined on set by our business editor, Stephen Carroll. Stephen.
Fiat Chrysler has confirmed that it's in talks with PSA. That's the company that owns brands including Peugeot and Citroën, based here in France. According to a statement, they're talking about creating a world leader in the industry. The companies are both believed to be holding high-level meetings later this Wednesday to discuss the plan. Earlier this year, Fiat Chrysler had already tried to secure a tie-up with France's Renault, but that deal fell apart. Of course, there's no guarantee it'll work out this time either. If it did, though, it would be or could be described as a merger of equals. Fiat Chrysler's market value is around $22 billion before the surge we've seen on shares. We'll get to that in a moment. PSA is around $26 billion, so not too far apart. Together in 2018, the two companies produced 8.7 million cars. That's slightly more than General Motors. It would make a merged entity the fourth biggest car maker in the world. Investors already very excited about this idea. Fiat Chrysler's shares jumping by 7% in New York yesterday. Peugeot's shares just opened up in Paris. They're up 7% as well. We're waiting to see what the reaction is in the Italian share markets. Fiat Chrysler has listings in two places, but obviously great excitement about the potential for that deal. Moving on, the messaging service WhatsApp is suing an Israeli surveillance company, accusing it of infecting the phones of some 1,400 users with spyware. The lawsuit, filed in San Francisco, accuses NSO of helping governments to hack users in at least 20 countries. WhatsApp says NSO exploited a vulnerability in its video calling system to access the phones. Georgina Robertson reports.
Pegasus, a surveillance software so powerful that the Israeli government classifies it as a weapon. WhatsApp believes that the software used a loophole to hack into customers' phones. Once installed, Pegasus had full access to the infected device. It could read all the messages and emails on a phone, listen to calls, and even turn on its camera and microphone to record conversations. It's now taking NSO, the company behind the software, to court in the United States.
We believe this attack targeted at least 100 members of civil society, which is an unmistakable pattern of abuse. This number may grow higher as more victims come forward.
The attack targeted around 1,400 phones over a 2-week period this year, but it's the targeting of civilians that has caused outcry. In its 6-month investigation, in collaboration with the University of Toronto, WhatsApp has found that the technology was used against government officials, diplomats, but also journalists, human rights activists and dissidents. NSO denies the accusations.
The sole purpose of NSO is to provide technology to licensed government intelligence and law enforcement agencies to help them fight terrorism and serious crime.
WhatsApp claims that the NSO group facilitated hacking sprees in at least 20 countries, including Mexico, the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. The messaging service says it has alerted affected users and that the security flaw was fixed with an update in May of this year.
France's economy grew faster than expected in the 3 months to the end of September. It saw growth of 0.3% over the quarter. That's the same rate as in the previous 3 months. The economy boosted by consumer spending, while imports and exports also increased. A new economic forecast, though, says that the British economy will be worse off to the tune of €80 billion a year under the revised Brexit deal with the European Union. The study from the National Institute of Economic and Social Research compared the impact of the deal with the UK staying in the EU. The independent forecaster found that growth would be 3.5% lower in 10 years' time under the divorce agreement. The UK's finance ministry says it has more ambitious plans than those that were used in this study. Let's take a look at what's happening on the markets for you next. Lots of companies' results reporting today. Volkswagen cutting its full-year guidance due to a slowdown in global auto demand, but its shares actually up 3% at the open in Frankfurt. Airbus shares down after its latest results. And shares on Fiat Chrysler have started trading in Milan. They are up over 10% after that news that they are in talks with PSA for a takeover. We'll be watching that as the day goes on. Earlier in Asia, the trend was down on shares as well. Investors there looking ahead to the decision of the Federal Reserve later on interest rates. The US Central Bank expected to cut rates for a third time. But as you can see across Asia, all of that leading to falls on the share markets. Now, while the US-China trade dispute has been a big issue for the markets, it appears it's now so all-encompassing that it's even affecting Harry Potter. Bloomsbury, the company that publishes the series, says it's been hit by tariffs on books that it prints in China. The 15% levy came into force on September 1st, affecting around 50 titles that Bloomsbury prints in China and sells in the US. The company says it's hoping to take the price increases in its stride and that it won't affect its full-year results. Although perhaps people are worrying coming up to peak book buying season, at least for people like me.
Say, I wonder if taking it in its stride means putting the price on the books, but we'll have to wait and see. Stephen Carroll, thanks a lot for that business update. Let's turn now to the international